Good afternoon. I have all our stuff. So I have the bag that you guys got yesterday with all your kit. This is everything that was in it plus these two papers. So we got 100 grams sourdough starter, boom. All your flour for the Panda COVID. Rye flour to feed your sourdough starter, Levain, Jury, Madre Bianca, and salt for your COVID-16. First thing we're going to do is, we need a couple of things that you'll have to gather. I like to have a bowl with water for my hands. That's just something I like to do, and a rag. Kitchen scale, which I thought had been funny if I had like one of those old thumb scales and I could put like, never mind, I won't go there. You're gonna need a lot of water, something that'll hold about 460 grams of water, and something that'll hold about 300 grams water would be something you'll need. So get those. First, we're gonna talk about these papers real quick like. The first one, we're gonna talk about the starter. Okay, total flour, like this is baker's math. These are baker percentages. I didn't want to dumb anything down for you guys because if you're at home and you're doing this, you might as well learn something. I probably won't explain it very good because it's second nature to me. So don't be afraid to slide in my DMs or whatever. I'll be around today. So total flour, that's how much flour is going to be in the sourdough starter. Rye flour, this is a 100% rye starter because that's what I use. I like the depth and the flavors that I get from rye flour. It's 100%, that means it's all rye. It's going to be 90 grams. Same column over here, we didn't do anything different. So we can just look here or just look here. Let's just look here, it'll be easier. So water, 120% would be 109 grams. Seed. Your seed is the sourdough starter that I sold you. This. Boom. That is what we're going to do. So right now, we're going to take some of this and we're going to mix it in with this dough. And we're going to save some and put it back in this jar to feed it to where we then again will now have 200 grams. That's what's going to happen with this piece of paper. Hang on to this paper. It'll be very valuable for you later. Or you can message me and I'll be like, this is the math part. Okay. Yeah, so we saw we're going to need 109 grams of water. That's what we'll put in this little dish. Now we come over to this formula, which is our Panda COVID. I'm just being silly. These are our ingredients that's in this bag. We have Sir Galahad flour, that is King Arthur's flour. Buy it at the grocery store. Or next week if you guys can't find any because everybody's bought every single piece of fucking everything. Message me next week. Maybe I'll just put that on a list and sell pounds of flour also. We have whole wheat flour. We have spelt flour. That's everything that's in this bag. We also have water because we need it. So we're going to need 422 grams of water. That's what we're going to put in here. And we have salt. Now salt came in a separate dish. The reason is I didn't want any of the salt to be left in the bag because it's very important. That's where a lot of the flavors will be brought out with salt. It'll also control the fermentation that we have. So this is our formula, our Levain, sourdough starter, rye sour. This stuff is Levain. This is what it's called, Levain. What's going to be right here? It's going to end up being 3 grams. Our total formula here and our total formula here are the same. These columns are when I make other ferments. If I make a different kind of Levain or a different kind of Polish, that's what these columns are for. We're keeping this one pretty basic. We'll do another basic one next week. And then the next week after that, we'll do like a seed soak or something. We'll do something kind of cool. Yes, you just heard me say that we'll do a couple of these. So we're going to just mease everything out real quick. Remembering we need 422 grams of water for this and 109 grams of water for this. So I'm going to mease out the water first. With the temperature of the water that you're going to want is going to be kind of cold. It's not like, we're trying to shoot for like 68, 72 degrees because we're not going to generate a lot of heat. We want our final dough to be about 75 degrees. I want to do something like, as I touch the water, it's not going to be warm like, oh, I want to get in there, and it's not going to be so cold that I want to jerk my hand out of there. Is a pretty good temperature. So, I'm going to turn my thingy on, my scale. It's actually not my scale. This is not Pellegrino. This actually. That's definitely Pellegrino. Delicious. This is just clean water. Water plants with it, you know. Son of a bitch. Boop, boop, boop. Boom. I don't want to make a mess. Big jar, tare, 109. So this is supposed to be 422. It's pretty damn good. Way at the bottom, don't make a mess. Okay, done with water for now. So I got a little bit of driblets. I'm gonna wipe it off here. I'm gonna move my bowl a little closer. Empty contents of flour into your casserole quart container. Did I tell you needed this? This is what we're gonna make our bread in. This is what we're gonna ferment it and store it, and everything is going to be done in this casserole dish. It's like 9 by 13. We probably could go a little smaller, probably go a little bit bigger. You don't want to go too much bigger. If you want to do it in a bowl, do it in whatever really you want. The general idea is going to be the same, and you'll understand why I use this. I use a lot of bus tubs, so I use a lot of squares, and everything I do, I like to work in square. So that's what we're going to do. I'm going to take my flour, my mixture of flours. I like rye flour. I like wheat. I don't do a lot of other flours besides those three. It's kind of, that percentage is kind of the mix I use in most of my doughs. I'm just taking and killing the bag. Okay, so when you take your salt, put it in there. Looks like this. You see everything is, all the different grains are together. I only use one hand when I do this. I'm right-handed, so I use my dominating hand. So I mix everything up best I can. We're going to hand mix everything because, well, number one, it's not a lot. Number two, it's just kind of our best way to do everything. Hand mixing, you know, when you mix everything by hand, you're going to start learning way more about bread and development and things like that. And as we're home doing this stuff, we might as well do it about as cool as we can. Okay, so there's this. All right, now I'm going to set this aside for a second. Now I need to weigh out my sourdough starter, okay? What I want to do, because this stuff's super sticky, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take some of this flour and I'm going to put it here. okay? I have a towel under it because it's flour. It gets messy and it gets everywhere. If any of you have ridden in my car, you know that. Tare your scale. Make sure you're at 0 at this point. Now, this is when I use water. You'll notice I'm just using a little bit because realistically we're getting 3 grams. We're not getting a whole lot. Look, if you have 4, it's okay. If you have 2, it's not. This is kind of, I don't know that I've ever done this little before. Okay, that's 5 grams. All right, that's like super lot. We don't want 5 grams. So I'm just washing my hand off so I can get it out of there. Be careful to try and leave some of your flour there. You know, it's not what you're trying to take out. Okay, I have 4 grams now. I'm just going to take it and dump it. I have this handy dandy scraper because, well, I have all kind of bread making devices because that's what I do for a living. Sourdough starter's just sitting right in there. Everything's mixed up. You now see the grain and salt is everywhere and evenly distributed. I have my sourdough starter right here. Now, I need to go ahead and mease out what I'm going to do for my sourdough starter feed, okay? 2 of these equal 90 grams. That is, each one's 45 grams. I don't know if anybody's fucked around with it yet or not, messed around with it or not. But, Tare. Okay. This one's going to be like super annoying because we barely need any. We just need 1 freaking gram. Okay, so checking my numbers, I'm at 2. I'm just going to tear it off. And get a little water on these 2 fingers. That is 1 gram. So, pretty stoked. Now I have all this left. I'm going to discard it. A lot of people make crackers, pancakes, blah, 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 blah with it. You guys are more than welcome to look into that. I'm going to just discard mine because I use it all the time. I'm going to take a little water in it. Because realistically, it shouldn't really stick to my hand. Okay, for the most part, I got it all out. Now I'm going to rinse it out in the sink. I'll show you how clean it has to be. Take that little towel. It should have about that much sourdough starter left in it, which is none. Okay. Now, remember we weighed this out earlier. I'm going to go ahead and dump it in there now. Boom. I'm going to take the one that I stole flour from. I'm going to dump it in. You take flour, the other container, dump it in. Look, if you guys want to cut it in half and use less, make less sourdough starter, you're welcome to. I personally am just going to keep this alive. I'm going to feed it every 48 hours. Before I make bread with it the next time, I'm going to feed it. And then the next day I'll feed it with more. And then we'll make a different bread. So we'll probably make a bread like I'm thinking Thursday. I don't know yet. So Now for my sourdough starter and leftover flour that was on the scale. Okay. I'm now done with this scale. Just gonna wipe it off. Because again, you don't want flour everywhere. Now, my water is in here, my flour, my sourdough starter. I'm going to take this other water that I have. I'm going to pour it, I'm a weirdo, I'm going to pour it right on top of that sourdough starter. Gone, don't need this anymore. I do not need this flour anymore. I don't need this or this. Just getting shit out of the way. I'm going to dip my hand in this water. Okay, I'm going right in. And I'm going to do this kind of motion with it, and I'm going to smear it up against the sides. That's why I gave you this jar that's so big. Once you get everything kind of incorporated, again, it's going to take a second. Mix it kind of fast. After you get it incorporated, mix it fast. Not until after everything's good. I like to kind of smash along this. I like to smash up against the side to where it's kind of mixing everything. You know. Got everything kind of incorporated at this point. I'm then going to kind of aerate the sourdough starter. Rye likes air, so ferments better, blah, blah, blah. That's what it should look like. Pretty kind of thick. Go back to that clean hand thing. Dump my clean hand in water. Boom, boom. Okay. Boop. The little bit of extra water that we just gathered there is not a big deal. I'm going to rinse my hands off because I have sourdough starter on them. I don't want to add that to this dough. I'm just going to rinse them. I am going to go, I'm going to take this side. I don't like messy, so I'm just going to kind of scrape down my sides. I get made fun of for this kind of shit at work. But to me, it's kind of where it's at. Boom. Now, put your lid on it. Leave it alone for 2 hours. 2 hours, then put it in the refrigerator. Now, we need to get this moving. So I have my fingers open and I'm just kind of incorporating. Okay? Taking from the corners, moving it into the inside. I'm being careful because I don't want to make a mess in my house, you know? I work all week. Last thing I want to do is clean this place. See the shag that we're starting to develop? Now I'm using the same theory as I did with the other dough. Just kind of incorporating everything right now. I know, just a second ago you were like, oh my God, we're going to need more water. Just give it a second. Now, one thing that everybody forgets is what's underneath. Okay, so you'll see I'm kind of wiping the side and squeezing it. Clean hand still. Now, mine's feeling pretty stiff to where it feels like I need to put water into it, but I'm not going to. Okay. Now it feels very incorporated, very together. And then remember the thing about the air being being put into the rye. Dough isn't so much like that. White flour is really not like that. We have a lot of Sir Galahad in here, which is commodity flour, which is white flour, and it is very different than white wheat, which we're not going to get into, but a lot of you guys follow me, and I talk about, no commodity flour and white wheat, and talk about white wheat a lot. So, here we go. That's where we're going to call it on the mixing for right now. With my clean hand, I watered it, and I'm just kind of getting everything off of my hand as best I can. A little more water. Okay, I'm sure you guys don't want to watch me scrape down the sides, wash my hands again, la la la. But that's what I'm going to do right now. I'll be back in a few minutes and I'll show you how to fold this dough.